Right now someone is manipulating you without saying a single word. They've already won the psychological battle before you even realize you're fighting. This is the hidden war of invisible frames. Most people don't even know these psychological frames exist. They walk into conversations already defeated. Narcissists don't just use words as weapons. They weaponize the entire psychological environment. Body language, positioning, energy, assumptions. They control the battlefield before the first shot is fired. Traditional advice tells you to set boundaries. But boundaries are useless when you're already trapped in their frame. You're fighting a war with weapons that don't match the battlefield. Today we expose the 3 invisible frames that control your reality. If you're finding value in this, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. The first invisible frame is the most insidious. Within seconds of meeting you, the narcissist has already established themselves as the authority. They don't ask for this position, they simply take it. Watch their body language carefully. They position themselves physically above you whenever possible. They lean back while you lean forward. They speak slowly, while you rush to respond. Their voice drops to make you strain to hear them. They pause dramatically before answering, forcing you to wait in their silence. Every gesture screams expertise, even when they know nothing about the subject. They drop credentials that can't be verified. They reference experiences that sound impressive but remain vague. Your unconscious mind is already cataloging these signals. Authority. Expertise. Someone worth listening to. Before you've said 5 words, you're already in the student role. This is frame 1. The authority assumption. And it happens faster than conscious thought. But there are 2 more frames waiting in the shadows. And they're even more dangerous. Building on the authority assumption, there's a second invisible frame being set. One that's even more insidious. The narcissist becomes the emotional thermostat of your interaction. They decide the temperature. Watch this closely. They enter your space and immediately shift the energy. Too intense, too casual, too urgent. Whatever emotional state you were in becomes irrelevant. Their energy dominates the room instantly. This isn't accident, it's strategy. By controlling the emotional temperature, they control your responses. When they're agitated, suddenly you're defending yourself. When they're dismissive, you're fighting for attention. When they're overwhelmingly positive, you feel pressured to match their unrealistic enthusiasm. You're not responding to the situation anymore, you're responding to their manufactured emotional state. This emotional hijacking puts you in pure reactive mode. Your logical mind shuts down. Think about your last difficult conversation with them. Who set the emotional tone from the first moment? They walked in stressed, so the conversation became about managing their stress, not solving your problem. They seemed calm but cold, so you spent energy trying to warm them up instead of staying focused. The emotional thermostat is their most powerful weapon. Because emotions bypass logic entirely. Once they control your emotional state, they control the entire interaction. You're fighting their battle on their terms. But here's where it gets truly sinister. The third invisible frame is the most devastating of all. They don't just control the temperature or assume authority. They establish their version of reality as the only truth that matters. This is the reality distortion field in action. Before you can even process what's happening, they've already rewritten the script. They present their narrative so confidently, so absolutely. That questioning, it feels like questioning reality itself. They use specific phrases that make their interpretation sound factual. Words like obviously, clearly, and rien tu pran. Everyone knows. These aren't just words. They're psychological anchors. They make you feel foolish for having a different perspective. By the time you realize what's happened, their reality has become your baseline. You're not debating facts anymore, you're defending your right to perceive. This is psychological warfare disguised as conversation. Marcus Aurelius faced manipulators in the Roman Senate every single day. His secret? He recognized their psychological games before they even finished speaking. The Stoics understood something modern psychology is just catching up to. Your psychological center is your fortress. But only if you know where it is. As we discussed, narcissists set their frames instantly. But they telegraph their moves. The first 30 seconds of any interaction reveal everything you need to know. Watch their body language. Do they position themselves above you? Listen to their tone. Are they already assuming authority before they've earned it? Notice the emotional temperature. Are they creating urgency where none exists? The Stoic defense. Epictetus called it the discipline of assent. You choose what to accept. You choose what to believe. You choose your response. When you recognize the setup, their frames lose all power over you. But recognition is only the first step. Next, we'll learn the complete immunity protocol. Building on what we covered, recognition is only half the battle. Now comes the crucial part, developing psychological immunity. The moment you enter their space, your frame must already be locked in place. This is non-negotiable. First technique, the internal anchor. Before any interaction, establish your emotional baseline in silence. When they project authority, you respond with calm curiosity. Not defiance. Curiosity neutralizes their frame without confrontation. Against emotional temperature control, deploy the Stoic mirror. Reflect their energy back neutrally, without absorption. When they escalate, you remain constant. When they withdraw, you stay present. You become their immovable reference point. For reality distortion, use factual anchoring. Stick to observable facts, never their interpretations. They say you're being difficult. You respond with what actually happened. No emotions, just verifiable events. The most powerful shield is the narrative interrupt. When they tell you who you are, you simply don't accept delivery. They project their story onto you. You neither argue nor accept. You exist independent of their narrative construction. Practice the emotional firewall. Their feelings about you remain their internal experience, not your reality. Remember, you cannot be manipulated without your unconscious participation. Consciousness is your ultimate defense. These techniques work because they operate from a position of centered strength, not reactive defense. When you maintain your frame consciously, their invisible frames lose all power over your psychological state. Here's the truth about everything we've discussed. Awareness alone is 90% of your victory against these psychological traps. The moment you see the authority assumption being set, it loses its power. When you recognize emotional temperature manipulation, you become immune to its effects. Reality distortion fields collapse the instant you identify them. This knowledge transforms every future interaction you'll have with narcissists. You'll never again walk blindly into their psychological battlefields. Every frame they attempt to set will be visible to your trained eye. You'll watch their tactics unfold like a movie you've seen before. This is psychological freedom in its purest form. The invisible becomes visible. The unconscious becomes conscious. You now possessed the vision to see what others cannot. The narcissist's greatest weapon was your ignorance of their methods. That weapon is now destroyed forever. If this opened your eyes, smash that like button and subscribe for more.